Today I'm joined by Donovan Bailey. Donovan is double Olympic champion, 5-time world champion, a former world record holder, Sport Canada Hall of Fame, and you held the Olympic record until Usain Bolt came along. Is that correct?
That is absolutely true. There's no better man to have break your record than the greatest of all time so far. So Usain is a good man, and yeah, he broke what was a world record of the Olympic record at the time in 2008. Smashed it actually.
Absolutely. You smashed it in 1996. So
correct.
You have two things in common. Welcome, Donovan.
Thank you.
Donovan, one thing that goes on in my head for a very, very long time, your sport, the 100-meter sprint, is, of course, always in the limelight of Olympics, World Championships. And it seems to be very cutthroat. So there has, apart from Usain Bolt and Carl Lewis, no one has done it back-to-back at the Olympics. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think that it's the greatest. I mean, I think you can always compare maybe the 100 meters to what heavyweight boxing is, especially back when I competed. It was every time you got in the lanes, it was war between, the 7 other competitors that you're competing against. Because it's the ultimate event, it's the ultimate event in the ultimate sporting event every 4 years. Then obviously there's an absolute need to make sure that you can destroy your opponents, some of them mentally and psychologically. And then for those who make it to the finals, you want to destroy them physically also. So, it's definitely war, but, for some of us who don't take these things personally, you also become friends after. So, the Olympic 100 meters, as we know, is the only event at the Olympic Games that the entire planet stops to see what happens in 10 seconds or under 10 seconds in most cases.
Yeah. I always start these interviews with asking difficult questions. After that, we can get into more fun stuff.
No problem.
What was your darkest moment as an athlete?
Well, I didn't really have one. I mean, mine was probably injuries. Mine was probably dealing with. I mean, I ruptured my Achilles in 1999, the fall of 1998, and then it's just the realization that you cannot have a surgically repaired leg because you're running. You're running against 2 people who have 2 legs, and they're the very best on the planet doing it. So it's very, very hard to come back and compete against someone when you only have use of one leg or one side of your body. So my darkest moment really would have been trying to compete post-surgery against athletes that were able-bodied and obviously, not trying to attempt to do what I was trying to do then.
Yeah. And a question that interests me, how difficult was it to be a Canadian 100-meter sprinter past the 1988 Olympic Games?
Well, I mean, it was quite easy for me. I mean, I knew exactly what my, what my structure was. I knew what my education was. I knew what my training partners, coaches, and my support system was. But I think that being the athlete is never a problem. I think that sometimes sometimes it's very different if someone is trying to ask you questions about somebody else and you have no idea about that person. So yeah, I think that if there was any sort of if there was a slight difficulty or maybe frustration, more important, it's probably not difficulty. It's probably more frustration because I can never answer the question of what another athlete did. And this was also way before my time. I was in college then playing basketball. I'm a huge fan of track and field. So I obviously knew about, the race in '88 and also track and field before that. But for me to be, the first man to be undisputed, world champion, Olympic champion, world record holder, the spotlight is going to be on me. And I was going to have to answer all those questions, whether I wanted to or not. So I gracefully answered them. It wasn't that big of a problem for me. But yeah, it wasn't for me to answer.
Okay, good. What was your best moment?
Oh my God! Listen, my best moment is is still happening today. Obviously, my on track best moments was probably the probably something that you would probably not think about or nobody else would. In 1994, when I was at the Golden Gala Rome meet, and that race. I got out of the blocks. I was leading. And Carl Lewis and Linford and all the great stars were in the race, and I kind of looked over at all of. I was looking to see where I was in the middle of the race, and I ended up coming fourth, and so I was very pissed off. I ended up coming fourth, but on that day I realized that I was one of the best. I was going to be one of the best, and also for me to mind my own business and stay in my own lane and stay disciplined and stay focused. So that's actually probably one of the best moments for me, because it was an awakening that my coach had been saying all along, that I was going to be the best sprinter in history. And certainly, all the titles are awesome. I've got to travel the entire world and meet some incredible people, most of which I'm still friends with today. So I continue to meet fans today. I meet people that their parents have named them after me. So so listen, it's all good things, and I get to live this every single day.
Yeah, that's cool. Believe it or not, I've actually taken that as a note. You spoke about that in another interview, that this was the deciding moment in your career. The thing I wanted to know, you said you didn't win the race, but you knew you will be the next champion. Why is that? Did you know you had so much more potential?
Well, yeah. First of all, it was my first full season on the Diamond League circuit. That's number one. And number two, I was racing against the very best people in that time, the very best people in the world. So if I make such crazy mistakes, and I was not, I had not had an actual fall-based base speed training. If I was doing all of those things, and I was in the race, and I came fourth, and I was in the middle of the race and leading at some points during the race, then yeah, I called my coach and I'm like, here's what happened. And he goes, I told you to focus. You can beat these guys. And I'm like, good, perfect. Let me finish out the season. And then next year, which would be 1995, let's tackle the record books.
Yeah, and that's when you became world champion.
Yes.
If you could travel back in time, 30 years maybe, what advice would you give a younger Donovan?
You know what? I'd probably, tell my young self to be more patient. Be more patient. I certainly lived in the moment then. I probably didn't train as hard as I should have. I networked very well then. So I think probably be patient, enjoy my times. It's certainly some of the greatest these are going to be the greatest moments of my life. So enjoy it, create and cultivate relationships and network, set myself up for what I am today, but set myself up, for future business. But yeah, just probably be more patient, maybe work a little harder, who knows, but all in all, there's not a whole lot of things that I regret from my younger self.
That's really cool. Wikipedia says you began competing as a 100-meter sprinter part-time in 1991, right, and then took it seriously in 94. How do I have to understand that? So you went from part-time to world champion in 1 year and from part-time to Olympic champion and world record holder in 2 years?
Yeah, well, 1991, well, first of all, one thing is this, I ran track in high school. So as a 15-year-old, I was running 10.5. So I think that, I think my Wikipedia needs to be edited properly. As a high schooler and as a middle schooler in Jamaica, I was one of the fastest sprinters on the island And that means I was, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Moving to Canada full-time after boarding school, clearly, I was one of the best guys in high school in Canada. But I love basketball. So basketball is still my favorite sport today, as it was then. So 1991, there were two friends of mine that were trying to make the national team, trying to make the Canadian national team. I had been playing basketball all along. I wanted to go and watch them compete, and I ended up borrowing some clothes. I ran the 100 meters. I beat the guys in our region. So clearly, and those guys belonged to clubs. They were training. I was in great shape because I played basketball probably 5 to 6, 7 times a week. But with no training, I was able to beat these guys. So that's 1991. I went to the Canadian Indoor Championships. I was 4th. I was undefeated going into the Canadian Indoor Championships. Outdoor, I certainly made the outdoor team. I represented Canada in 1991 at the Pan Am Games. But again, I was only training part-time, sort of. I didn't really, it didn't really matter to me. And so I ended up every single year. 1991, I got injured. 1992, I got injured. 1993, I made the team all those years. I got injured because I was never actually training. I never lift weights, ever. I was, at the clubs hanging out with my friends. I was partying all the time. I was working in corporate Canada. So yes, it was just part-time. It was just fun times for me. So when I met with my coach, Dan Paff, in Stuttgart in 1993, he just said to me, you need to take it seriously. And when you take it seriously, you could be better than anybody else in history, which is, I ended up moving to Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1994, in March of 1994. And of course, the story goes on from there where, I was one of the best sprinters in the world in 1994 after, just being in a place where it's a structured training place where, I got to do weights for the first time in my life in 1994. I understood nutrition for the first time. I mean, I never really ate terribly, but I understood nutrition for the body. And also, most importantly, I understood rest and therapy. So, obviously I was treating my body like a temple for the very first time.
You are involved in philanthropic projects and you mentor the youth. If you could give one piece of advice to the youth, what would it be?
Well, number one, I always say, in order for you to be, first of all, you have to be disciplined and you have to work hard to achieve your goal. But most importantly, when you get to your goal and you're blessed, you should give back. You should always give back to people who are less fortunate. I grew up that way. That's just part of what my parents taught me and what I teach my kids and what I tell everybody in the world right now. We're all blessed. So once you're all blessed, you definitely need to give back to the people that are less fortunate than you, because ultimately, that's just karma for me personally. If I give back at some point, I mean, I'm not standing out looking for something, but if you give, you'll always get.
That's really cool. What are the habits that make you a successful athlete and person?
Well, you know what? I think that, sometimes your habit can be very annoying. Sometimes your habits can be very bad. I mean, I'm watching the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and it's funny because we have so many parallels. I'm someone who is very obsessive compulsive. So I do the same things. I eat the same way. I train so it's very monotonous, and sometimes that's annoying people around you. But if that's your way of being successful, then you should follow those things. But every single person, success is really customized for every single athlete in every single event, in every single sport. The nuances that you personally have are those things that's going to make you successful. Do not change them. These things work for you. And if these are the things that work for you, continue those very same habits. That's going to allow you to get to the top of your podium in whatever sport or whatever business, because these very same habits are the same things that the greatest CEOs in the world practice, or the greatest CFOs in the world practice. It's the exact same thing as what the greatest swimmer or cyclist or athlete in the world practice. It's the exact same principle. All it is in a different genre or a different lane. That's all.
I saw in an interview you said you want to be remembered as the guy who always smiles. Is that something that comes natural to you, or do you practice it?
No, it's never. Listen, I think that sometimes people misinterpret. You know, here's the crazy thing. Let me explain this in chronological order. People the world has gotten to know me through the lens of 100 meters. So basically, what people have seen, what the world have seen, is only me at work, only me in my competitive place. But you know, in actual fact, I'm probably one of the easiest going, happy-go-lucky person. I'm a serious business person for sure, and I'm a serious father, and I could be a serious person. But 85-90% of the time, I'm easygoing, happy-go-lucky, smiling guy, you know, who wants the very best of everybody. I mean, the glass is always half full. I'm definitely the one that's going to be the motivator in the room. I expect every single person, you know, to follow their dreams, to work really hard to achieve their goals. But yeah, I mean, I think smiling is a normal thing for me. Smiling was a normal thing for me, even when I competed. Like at the starting line, I was smiling. It's just that, you know, when I got in the blocks, it was time for serious business. You know, if I'm at an interview, I was always smiling. You know, if I was modeling, I was smiling. If I was at the nightclub, I was smiling. If I was at dinner, I was smiling. So yeah, man, I mean, I think that smiling is a natural thing for me. And I think that when someone smiles, it's infectious and it's very positive.
Yeah. There's also this saying that if you smile at the world smiles back at you.
That's exactly right. I mean, and I've been very blessed, Christian. Absolutely. The world has smiled upon me every single day and continues to do this today.
Do you have a morning routine?
No. Well, right now, not anymore. I mean, you know, I think before, I think my structure probably, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say no. My structure has changed. When I was an athlete, I'd wake up. When I woke up, so I'd go to bed usually at about 12 o'clock at night. I want to sleep 9 hours. When I wake up, you know, obviously my favorite meal of the day, or for me, always has been breakfast. You know, and that always, I mean, and whether some people believe it or not, that always either include a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, but there's always really good breakfast, fruits, you know, an omelet, you know, whatever, like, you know, toast. You know, that's always been my routine. So my routine now is really different because I probably go to bed later or earlier. When I wake up, breakfast is still really important, but I'm definitely not. I don't have to wake up and be regimented about exactly what I eat because I'm not leaving to go to the track to go train for between 6 and 8 hours. I mean, I might go to the golf course now. But it's not the same. So my routine is probably adjusted. Let's just say. I mean, I got up before. I mean, I knew exactly how much I had to eat, and then I had to essentially pack a lunch where I'm putting on. I have to eat every couple of hours. Now I have breakfast. I might have a light lunch, and then I have a dinner. You know, so and you know, all of those usually consist of really awesome food. A lot of it that I didn't eat when I was competing.
How do you prepare yourself for important moments?
Well, it depends on what moment that is. I mean, you know, how do I prepare myself for an interview with you, which is an important moment today? You know, obviously I breathe, I relax. You know, when you do that, I have the ability to, you know, to recapture and remember, you know, great events that happened in my life. So any questions that you come at me with, I have the ability to answer that directly and thoroughly. And that's kind of how I look at everything. If I'm going to the golf course, I practice, I go there, I get some swings in, at the driving range. When I was competing in track and field, I'd get to the track hour and a half before my competition. I would stretch. I would get a massage. I'd come out, do a couple of sprints. So anything, if I'm doing a corporate speech, it's the same thing. I understand. It's breathing still. It always starts with breathing. But it's almost like I set myself up physically, mentally, and psychologically for whatever challenge is in front of me. So my programming is still the same for anything. Whether, again, today the most important thing I'm doing is this interview, unless I'm going to go play golf after, or anything that I'm doing. Anyways, there's always like a chronological, systematic thing that I do to prepare to be, to make that situation go as smooth as possible.
Yeah. And if we go back in time, in that Olympic final in 1996, the individual 100 meters.
Right.
When you went into the arena, what went through your head? That is question number one. When you got out of the start, you had a bit of a suboptimal start, but you still brought it home. So just talk us through it.
Well, first of all, when I went to Atlanta, the 100 meters was for me to lose. That's it. So I was so confident. It didn't really matter to me. It didn't. I'd been toying with Frankie all year. I kind of knew where his weak spots were. Otto Boldman, phenomenal guy, great starter. So I certainly can capitalize on that. Linford was a reigning champion, but I've beaten Linford several times before. I also knew that I could beat him at any given day. So for me, going into the stadium, I had all the confidence in the world. The world was on my shoulders, and I had very broad, strong shoulders. The finals, was a little crazy because I think that one of the things that my coach had said to me after was that based upon the times that I was running in practice, he felt that I would be running, probably 9.6 high or maybe 9.71, somewhere around there. He felt that I could do that if I got a good start. Now, you just said it. I had a horrible start, but I think a lot of that came probably from the false starts from before. Certainly, there's a lot of false starts. I didn't really want to be one of those guys with a false start, and I was a terrible starter in the first place. So, coming out of the blocks in sixth place, I knew that all I had to do was, again, to relax, get back into, my running routine, get back into my acceleration phase, knowing that when I hit top speed, I'd pass everybody. So again, it was just for me to be patient. That's all.
Yeah. And you talked about confidence. One of the coolest things I've seen at the Olympic Games was actually in 1996, that 4 times 100 meter relay, when the number 3 gave the stick and he already raised the arms, even though you had 90 meters to go. That was so cool.
Well, Christian, I'm very happy that you actually look at that. I think that sometimes people don't understand, how great our team was and how incredible that moment was. It was the very first time in history since 1896 that the U.S. had ever been beaten at the 4x1 relay, and they were hosting the Olympic Games. So basically, we're beating them in their house. And we were so confident. I went in and I told the guys, I'm like, just get me the stick. So I'm very surprised that after Robert, our first leg, handed it off, I think he put his hand up too. Because essentially, we just had to hand the stick off. And those guys knew that as soon as they got me the baton, it was going to be over. Wherever I got the baton, I'm going to extend the lead. So, that was probably one of the greatest Olympic moment in the history of the Olympics. And I'm so happy that you pointed that out. I talk to the fellas often, and it's one of those, these are one of those times we get to celebrate with the entire world, an incredible time in our lives.
Yeah. And as you said, you beat the Americans in their house, in their discipline.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It was great times.
How do you overcome setbacks?
You know what? I think that I like I said to you before, I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. So sometimes there's, here's the thing. Nobody lives a perfect life. So at no point is there never going to be setbacks in every single human being's journey. But ultimately, I think that when you come up to a place where there is a valley, you really have to kind of, again, I do a lot of this, maybe it's Zen-like. I step back and I see what's in front of me, right? And obviously, here's what happens. Every single day, Christine, and this is very important, every single day, we all have an incredible goal. Everyone has incredible goals. So if your plan to get to that goal doesn't work, you don't ever change the goal. All you do, you change the plan. And if you everyone has incredible amounts of resources and networking of whatever goals they might have. But if you don't get to that goal with one plan, then there's always another plan for you to get to that goal. So goals never change, plans do.
Who's your role model and why?
Well, my role model, I mean, my role model are my parents. I mean, I think that, they let me understand from very young what structure was. They let me understand what responsibilities were. They let me understand what discipline was, what hard work was, what focus was. So ultimately, my dad and mom are always the people that I'll look at. If I'm going to talk about other global maybe sports people, I mean, Muhammad Ali, someone who's phenomenal, someone who's done incredible work within the ring, but even outside of the ring, he stood up for human rights, and he also did the right things. I mean, when I ran track, I understood a couple of things. One, my predecessors, there might have been people there that were dirty, that were taking drugs, that were doing all those things. So when I came to track and field, I was never going to be one that was going to be insecure or weak enough to reach out to someone and try and do anything illegal. So at the end of the day, ultimately for me, my parents presented me with the probably greatest knowledge and infrastructure to be a successful member of society, which I hope to pass on to as many people as I can from the stage that I sit.
That is really cool. What is the best advice you received and who gave it to you?
Well, I mean, I could just repeat exactly what I just said the last question. My parents taught me to be patient, taught me to be, to never settle, never ever settle, and that every single day that I work, I should have expectations.
Yeah. Back in the days, how did a typical training day look like?
Oh, wow. Typical training day could be anything. I mean, ultimately, I think what we all got to, maybe we train too hard, but ultimately, our training day starts from waking up. And I think that's probably what I alluded to earlier. A training day started from you getting a good night's rest, waking up, getting proper breakfast. So, so you have nutrition in your body, obviously getting to the track. It's a Zen moment for me every single day. You get to the track, you prepare yourself, you stretch for an hour, hour and a half, whatever the workout is that day, whether it's, doing some speed and power, doing some speed, do some, speed endurance work. You leave from the track, you head to the weight room, you leave the weight room, you head to therapy. And all of that you're eating every couple of hours. And then certainly you go after therapy, you can maybe go over film, have a discussion with the coach, get home, rest, relax, read a book, watch a movie, talk to my staff, and then go to bed, shower, go to bed, and it starts all over again the next day.
Cool. You alluded to it earlier. You have philanthropic projects. One is your foundation where you build schools. Talk us through what you're doing.
Well, the greatest thing, I mentioned before, I'm very blessed. And when you're very blessed, for those who are blessed, you should give back. So, I've always been a massive supporter of leadership, of kids sports, and also education. I mean, I certainly I certainly donate to Alzheimer's because that affected my family, and also cancer because that also affected my family. But I've always been a supporter of kids, leadership, and I think that every single child in this world deserves an education. I think that every single child in this world deserves to read and write. I think that every single child in this world deserves an opportunity to be successful. So these are things that I always work on. I always support. I do it myself, and I'll support any other charities or foundations around the globe that support these initiatives. I mean, I just think that every single child in this world deserves an opportunity to play, deserves an opportunity to live life, enjoy, smile, read and write, educate yourself, and be given an opportunity to be successful.
That's really cool. What else is going on in the life of Donovan Bailey at this moment in time?
Well, I think I covered it all. I mean, I'm a father.
I
think we covered it. Listen, I'm a father. Philanthropic is what my philanthropy is. We just discussed that. Certainly, I think that with the pandemic and the Olympics being canceled, we have to pivot and do a lot of things virtual now. I mean, I definitely miss the personal connection with the athletes and the fans. And hopefully we'll get back to that as soon as possible. I'm certainly looking forward to Olympic Games next year. It's going to be definitely not conventional. I don't know what it's going to look like. I will certainly be in the TV studio with Canadian TV or with BBC or with Eurosport. I'm looking forward to some great performances, from the young kids, Kristen Coleman, Noah Lyles, Wade Van Niekerk, Shelly Ann Fraser. Like some of these amazing young athletes that are now carrying the flag. So yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of sports. So I'm living life. I'm definitely living the moment. I'm enjoying myself. Certainly, always want to give shouts out to the frontline workers across the world. These people that are dealing with the pandemic. These are our true heroes. And certainly the medical professionals around the globe that are helping some of these people, all of these people, through this very traumatic and testing times. And let's hope that, we can get through this together and we can all come out on the other side and kind of enjoy some sense of normalcy as soon as possible.
Do you want to nominate someone to be interviewed?
Have you done Linford?
No.
I'm going to nominate Linford Christie.
Wow, that's really cool. Where can people find you?
And you can reach me online. I mean, certainly, DonovanBailey.com, at Donovan Bailey on Twitter, and all other social. I mean, I certainly have a bunch of other social networks. So on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, you can find me. You know what I look like. I'm still handsome.
I will link it all up.
Sounds awesome, man. Sounds good, Christian.
Donovan, thanks so much for your time. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you.